are talking about my top 10 teams in the NFC. Let's get it started with number one.
Number one.
I got the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles just came off a Super Bowl run. They lost Hargrave. You replaced him with Jalen Carter, who I picked to go to the Eagles. Thank you. I can't believe I actually got that right. They actually traded up to get Jalen Carter, which didn't really make any sense because I believe the Bears were going to go offensive line anyway. Weird thing, but it is what it is. You got your replacement for Hargrave. Good for you. You re-signed your cornerbacks. You brought in Matt Patricia to actually do his job, which is call plays on the offensive side, or at least be some sort of senior defensive advisor or something like that. So you got Matt Patricia in his own job, which is good. The Patriots didn't understand how to do that last year. Had him call offensive plays. You still got phenomenal talent offensively. You signed Jalen Hurts to a phenomenal deal. You just picked up DeAndre Swift from the Lions. You still got Devontae Smith. You got, what's his face? A.J. Brown. I believe you also still have Goddard. You got a bunch of weapons. I think the Eagles deserve to be the number one team in the NFC.
Number two.
I got the San Francisco 49ers here. Now, I'm going based off this. Brock Purdy will be there. I think Brock Purdy will get healthy in time for the season to start. You picked up Hargrave from the Eagles, who Hargrave was a phenomenal defensive interior player for the Eagles last season, multiple sacks. Your defense is overall phenomenal. Fred Warner, I think DeForest Buckner, he may be there. He may be on the Colts. Never mind that. You got to work on cornerback a little bit. I don't feel great about their defensive backs. Your draft so far, your draft was just weird. I don't think it was highly graded at all. You got a kicker early in the round. I didn't understand that whatsoever. Your offense is great, though. Deebo Samuel, you got George Kittle, you got CMC now in a full season. Brock Purdy now will have a full season. You got Brandon Ayuk, you got Jennings. Your offense is insane. You also have phenomenal offensive line. The 49ers team in a weakened NFC, I think the 49ers deserve to be number two, and I think they probably have, top 3, top 4 odds to actually win the Super Bowl if Brock Purdy is truly healthy.
Number three.
I got the Dallas Cowboys. Now, for some reason, I looked at a bunch of top 10 lists so far. I saw the Seahawks here. I saw the Lions were even as high. I didn't understand some of these lists here. I saw the Vikings at number 3. No, the Dallas Cowboys, I understand. Dak Prescott, he's not the greatest of quarterbacks. He's a B quarterback at his very best, probably B+ if you really want to push it. But last year was bad, at least turnover-wise. But you still got great offensive talent. You got rid of Zeke, who's taking touches away from the better running back, Tony Pollard. You got Tony Pollard. You lost Dalton Schultz. I think you should have gone Michael Mayer in the first round. Personally, you got that guy Mozzie Smith, I believe, a defensive interior lineman, who's, I guess, okay. People graded that pick very, very highly. You should have replaced Dalton Schultz with a top tight end. You did in the first round. It is what it is. You still got Micah Parsons. I believe you still have DeMarcus Lawrence on the defensive line. Trayvon Diggs, who stepped up his game, from his first couple of seasons where he gave up nearly 1,000 yards as a cornerback. Not really that great. You got Stephon Gilmore, which is a great pickup. CeeDee Lamb. You got Brandon Cooks, who's a great number 2 for you. I think the Cowboys are going to be great again on defense. I think the offense, you lost Kellen Moore to the Chargers. Now you got Mike McCarthy calling plays now. I don't know how that'll turn out. I'm going to assume it's going to be okay, not great. I do think, though, once again, in a weakened NFC, it's still going to be pretty easy for the Cowboys to be successful. But I think there is a drop-off from the 1 and 2 spot. There is a drop-off to the Cowboys. Number four. I got the Seattle Seahawks. They nailed 2 drafts so far. Last year, at least cornerback-wise, they picked up 2 really, really good defensive backs, and they succeeded in a huge way. Now you go in, you draft Devon Witherspoon as your first pick, and then you go up and follow it up with JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, 2 great players. I think you can nail 2 drafts right here, use them very, very effectively. Geno Smith signed a long-term deal. I guess that's like a 3-year extension. So good for Geno Smith. They look like they're going forward with Geno Smith. I think the Seahawks are going to be a really, really good team. Fight for the NFC West? I don't think so, because I still think the 49ers are a better team. But I do think the Seahawks are going to be a great team. I think they're definitely going to be a playoff team this season if everything goes as planned. I don't love the running situation. You got Kenneth Walker, but outside of him, I don't really know. Your offensive line could use a little bit of work, but you still got offensive skill positions, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and JSN. Great pickups there. Great assets for your team. Geno Smith was more than effective. He sort of had I believe he won Comeback Player of the Year after being considered a bust when he was with the Jets. Good for Geno Smith. I think the Seahawks could nail 2 straight drafts. I got the Seahawks at number 4.
Number 5,
I got the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I know nobody likes Kirk Cousins. And I know, I'm fully aware, Kirk Cousins in prime time is not a great quarterback. Hell, he's even a bad quarterback. This team went 11-0 in one-score games last year. I don't think that will happen again. But if you're taking a look at the NFC, I think there's a good shot. It's between the Vikings or the Lions to win the NFC North. I think the Bears may be number 3, but I think, the Bears they're still in a rebuild. I don't think they're fully there that could fully contend for the NFC North here. I think the Vikings, you lost Adam Thielen, you got Justin Jefferson, but instead with Adam Thielen, you replace him with Jordan Addison, who is arguably one of the best wide receivers in this draft. I like the Vikings. Your defense still gives me worry, though, because I thought your defense would be an upgrade last year than it was in the prior years, because you picked up Zadarius Smith, who showed up in the first game against the Packers. But outside of that, you were kind of slow in defensive back-wise. You still got Harrison Smith. I believe you picked up Byron Murphy from the Cardinals. I think that is a great, great asset to pick up. I like the Vikings here at number 5. The NFC is very weak. Kirk Cousins, I don't know what his future will hold. He's in his last year of his contract. I think just in the NFC, I think the Vikings are a top 5 team in the NFC.
Number 6.
I got the Detroit Lions. I don't love the first pick they had, Jahmyr Gibbs. I understand why you get him, because you wanted to get off DeAndre Swift and his potential contract. But to pick him at number 12, I don't love it. You had a high pick in the second round. I think he would have been available at that spot. You instead picked him at number 12. Your defense still needs a lot of work, though. You got Jack Campbell as a linebacker in the first round. I think that's going to be more than capable. But your defensive backs were the key here in your defense last season. Like your top 5 or 6 defensive backs each gave up 100 passer rating, at least 100 passer rating when being targeted at. That's a problem. You were getting cooked every time someone tried to throw the ball against you. I don't love it. However, your offense for a decent part of the season to open it up was the highest scoring offense in the NFL with Jared Goff as your quarterback. Now, I would have actually loved to see you actually get a tight end because you lost TJ Hawkinson, who the Vikings picked up. That's another great asset the Vikings had. But this team was great offensively. Now Jameson Williams will once again be suspended at the beginning of the season for betting on games within the facility. I don't love that. However, you still got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You still got a bunch of great receivers. You got you picked up Jahmyr Gibbs. You think he's the key for you. Your offensive line's got Penei Sewell, who caught a first down pass last season. I mean, your offense was incredible. So I think you're going to follow that through. Your defense needs to be better if you want to make the playoffs, and you were right there. You just couldn't get it done because the Seahawks won last year, but you did knock the Packers off of a potential playoff run, so good for you. I think this team will be good. I think this team is a potential playoff team. I think the NFC North is up for grabs here between them and the Vikings. I got the Detroit Lions at number 6.
Number 7.
I got the Los Angeles Rams. I know. I know people are going to get mad. Say, the Rams were horrible last year. They're even going to get worse now. Jalen Ramsey's gone. I understand that. But we do have to realize that a bunch of the Rams offensive players got hurt, including Aaron Donald on the defensive end. He got hurt. Cooper Kupp will be back. Matt Stafford will be back. Van Jefferson isn't dealing with an injury. They got off Allen Robinson, who wasn't really that good for him. Do we remember how Cooper Kupp was when he was healthy? He was going for Calvin Johnson's record and was a large part, and OBJ, who they don't have, but Cooper Kupp was a large part of the reason why they actually won the Super Bowl last year, or 2 years ago at this point. So the Rams are going to be healthy. Their offensive line gives me a little bit of pause here, but outside of that, offensively, that's really what they're going in on, is full offense. I think this team is going to be a great team, or a good team, I should say, not a great team. I don't think they're going to fight for the NFC West. There's a chance this team gets into the playoffs. I'm not too sure about that, but we're talking about the NFC, who's extremely, extremely weak with Cooper Kupp, with Matt Stafford, who's on a big extension. You still got Aaron Donald. I mean, I think this team could win some games. Now, I don't know what their win over-under is. If I want to say over-under 8.5, I would honestly pick the over just to go 9 wins. I think this is a 9-8 team. Potentially, if they win a close game, could be 10-7. I'm not entirely sure, but this team, healthy, I think it can go up against almost any team in the NFC besides obviously the 49ers. Although Jimmy G is not there, so I don't know how they'll do. But I assume that they'll still lose to the 49ers.
Number 8.
I got the New York Giants. The New York Giants made a top 10 list when you're talking about best teams in the NFC. I got to admit, their moves have been really good. Daniel Jones is now on a $40 million a year contract. I got to give it to him. He played very well last year, but albeit he only threw 15 touchdown passes and you're paying him $40 million a year. Saquon Barkley, they're going to try to deal with their contract issue. He's not showing up, and he hasn't signed the franchise tag yet, so I don't know what's going on between him and the Giants. He wants, I think he said $16 million a year. I don't know if the Giants will pay that, but I think you're going to need to if you want to keep them. I don't know. You got a wide receiver in the draft. There you go. You're getting Daniel Jones some weapons. You got Darren Waller. You got a new center, I believe. I mean, we got to see if Daniel Jones can keep it up. Now, if he can't, then we know that last year was just a one-off. Although with Brian Daboll as your head coach, Daniel Jones looked great. He has toned down turnovers each year since his first 2 years where he had turnover issues. I got to hand him that. I think the Giants, with their defense was pretty good last year. Their offense was surprisingly efficient. I think the Giants, I think they could be another playoff team, although I think they'll stay about the 9-7, 9-8, that sort of range. I don't know if the Giants will be a playoff team. They should be better because Daniel Jones has more weapons, but I'm not too sure because some of these NFC teams are absolutely insane.
Number 9.
I got the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr over Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston? I think so. Now, you lost some defensive interior players, which could be a problem. But you did replace them in the draft, which is a good thing. You drafted some interior defensive linemen, which is good to replace. I don't have the players that they lost in front of me here, but you lost some very, very, very good defensive interior linemen. Now, I believe you drafted a tight end, which is good. If Alvin Kamara isn't dealing with his legal issues, you'll have him back. Michael Thomas is going to be back. If he's even a glimpse of what he was a couple years ago, where he set the record for, I believe, most receptions in a season, I think you're going to be a decent team. Now, this team, with the number 10 team who I have, could win the NFC South. I think it's going to be between these two teams. I don't know if they could do it, though, because Derek Carr is still a big question mark. You got Chris Olave, who's I think it was a really, really good receiver last year, at least a rookie receiver last year. I don't know how far this team goes with Derek Carr as your quarterback. I like Derek Carr. I put him in my top 10 quarterbacks to start the year last year, which I got a lot of blowback for. But I think the Saints are going to be an okay team. At least I think Derek Carr is a better quarterback than Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston, so you should be much better. And to wrap it up with my final pick, my number 10 pick is the Carolina Panthers. It was honestly between them, the Packers, or the Bears. These three teams I think could fight for that 10 spot. But I think right now, Bryce Young was the best quarterback in the draft. You got Adam Thielen, who was a great wide receiver too for the Vikings. Your defense surprisingly stepped it up with Steve Wilks as the head coach. You got Frank Reich as your head coach. I think you could do really, really well with Bryce Young. I just think the way this team goes, you got to bolster your offensive line a little bit. Your running game was surprisingly efficient. Now, I don't think you have Foreman anymore. I believe you still have Hubbard. But I think this team, I don't think this team is a playoff team. But I think the 7-10 range like they had last year, and that was with Sam Darnold as their quarterback and Baker Mayfield and PJ Walker. So I think they could repeat that and still fight for the NFC South because the NFC South is literally a dumpster fire. You got the Bucs with Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. You got the Falcons with Desmond Ridder. Now they're starting to try to get their offense going. You got Bijan Robinson. You got Algier. You got Cordell Patterson. You got Kyle Pitts. You got Drake London. You got those players, but you still got Desmond Ridder throwing him the football, to be fair. And then you also have Derek Carr and the Saints, who I think him and Bryce Young fighting for that number 1 spot. Saints versus Panthers for the number 1 spot in the NFC South. I think that's going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to be, a fireworks show like Tom Brady and Drew Brees were. But I just think, truthfully, these two teams are going to be at the top of the NFC South. I don't think the Falcons are going to be, and I for damn sure don't think the Bucs will be. The Bucs are just going to, with Baker Mayfield at quarterback, I've given up on Baker Mayfield. I gave him hope when he went to the Panthers. I thought this would be his redemption story where he performs very, very well, potentially pushes his team to the playoffs, and he just didn't deliver. I don't think on the Bucs he will because he's a short quarterback who for like the first 12 weeks, and I think he got benched after week 6. It lasted all the way until week 12 or 13 where he had the most batted balls in the NFL. I don't understand how you do that. It's Baker Mayfield. He's playing with great receivers, even better receivers than he did on the Panthers. So we'll see just how great the Bucs are. I don't think they're going to be that great. But that wraps up my top 10 teams for the NFC. We got Eagles, Niners, Cowboys, Seahawks, Vikings, Lions, Rams, Giants, Saints, Panthers, and that is my list. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.